I will do it. I'm on my phone right now.
Thank you.
Cool.
So I can move this money around. A lot.
See, we've started the Twitch because I hear my echo.
Yep. Twitch should now be on. Yep. Let's do that. Let's do that. All right. Let me get my Twitch up so I can look at chat.
Hi, Daphne. We have flipped off.
That reminds me, I want to do that. Stream manager. Pop out. Pop it out. Oh, man. I wish it was Friday. I'm very tired.
Well, time is just a construct within our own minds. So if you would wish it to be Friday, so be it.
Oh, so I don't have to work tomorrow. This is great.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, really, like, yeah.
You don't have to say it. We all know.
Who's gonna stop me? No, I will for the kids. I shaved again. I did. Yes, I'm trying to. I don't like it. Like when it gets too long, it gets itchy and uncomfortable, and then Samantha doesn't like it when it's just shaven because it's very stubbly and annoying. So.
And you look like you're 12.
Yeah, now I look like I'm 12, like a student. You don't like it, Surya? Sorry. Sorry, I did not do it for you. I apologize.
That was very inconsiderate of you, Mr. Hartman.
You do not like it at all? Oh, clean shaven. Yeah, I'm very inconsiderate. Very rude. Oh man, hope everybody's having a good day. I would burn off my own facial hair. Okay. I'm very confused by what Surya is trying to tell me right now.
He just really doesn't like facial hair.
Yeah, apparently. Surya, have you seen Three Idiots? I don't even know what that is.
The Three Stooges?
That's what I was. That's what I think of when I think of
100% sure that's not what they're talking about.
The Honecker children?
Speaking of, Casey, do you want to take the 3 chapters after Kelsey, and then I'll do the last 4?
So you want me to do? Hang on.
There were 7 left, right? Was that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? 93 to 97?
93 to 107.
Oh, that's 14.
It's 3 days, not 3 chapters.
Oh,
okay, I gotcha.
Okay, that makes much more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
So just 90 questions, no big deal, right?
Because it gives me. I would like to finish my lab videos, and then be able to focus on that.
I also figured you wanted to be the one to finish out the book.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've already read it, so it's like if I hadn't read it, I would definitely agree with you that. But since I've read it already, it's not. It's here and there. Oh, it's a Bollywood film. So you're projecting your insecurities upon me. Yeah, no links in the chat, please. All right, I know we're us 3 are kind of up against it because we have a department meeting in an hour. So let's go and get started with awards. Get your claps ready. There you go. All right, medals for the 22nd of April, which is yesterday. Surya is ineligible. Honors. Elise with another perfect. Anthony with another perfect as well. Anthony crushing it. Haymint with another perfect. Hem the Ant. Represent. Huda with a perfect score as well. Well done, Huda. Rachel Kirian, of course. Rachel Kirian doing very well. Saloni with a perfect score. Top scorer on the team as of now. Saloni, well done. And that is all the honors. A little shorter than usual today. A little shorter. And the Scholastics, Abigail with a perfect score. On a roll, Abigail. Fia also on a roll with perfect scores.
Yeah.
Well done. Emery with a perfect score as well. Well done. Good job, Emery. Mark Gabino, another one. Gabino on a roll here. Seeing his name crop up more and more. Megan Wang with a perfect score as well. Well done, Megan Dub. Megan with the dub. And I think the last one, Tam. Starleaf, who is not here. He hasn't been here much on the chats, but he comes and goes. Congratulations to Tam. And then lastly, in the varsities, perfect score. You know who it is. It's Leah.
Yeah.
Well done, Leah. In second, we had a tie, Rachel Thomas with a 29 out of 30. Well done. And making his debut appearance, Kevin Dong. Woo! Good job, Kevin. Welcome to the team. I'm very proud of Kevin. He's been grinding. He's been one of the first to finish the quiz every day. I'm very proud of him. All right. So there's all that. Congratulations to everybody. Surya, do your quizzes. All right, so we're on to chapter 63, Reverent and Free. Hey, that rhymed. All right, so let's get into it. So last time on Cat's Cradle, they got to the stand, the review stand, and all these people were watching him, about 5,000 people, and they're all super quiet. To the left of the reviewing stand are 6 propeller-driven fighter planes. Propeller-driven at this point being interesting because it's the frickin' 50s, and nobody has propeller-driven fighter planes anymore.
They're probably World War II surplus.
I mean, I could see World War One. Probably not that early though. You're probably right. Given to San Lorenzo by the United States. Right. I guess the World War One planes were they weren't even really fighter planes. They were just, here's a plane, we put a gun on it.
We figured out how you can use the gun without shooting off your own propeller. Go.
Yes. I love that piece of ingenuity. On the fuselage of each plane was painted with childish bloodlust. What a word. Ah, yes, the children love the blood.
Right? What child lusts after blood?
Frank?
Okay, but
a boa constrictor crushing a devil to death. Very good. Yes. That's awesome. I'm getting that tattoo. Lord of the Flies. Yeah, okay. And then from the devil we have a lot of blood coming from the ears, nose, and mouth. Ears, nose, and mouth disease. And a pitchfork was slipping from his satanic red fingers. Is slipping from his satanic red fingers. Where's Megan? Megan Wang, please draw this up for us, and we'll put this on our shirt. And so each plane is a pilot, oatmeal colored, as we've talked about. And then we hear a song like a gnat, right? Like the song of a gnat coming out, a nagging song like a gnat. And that song is a siren. On Papa's glossy black Cadillac limousine. Papa's, I want to use glossy. Just gives so much imagery, right? Glossy black limousine. Right. It's weird how Papa is always in quotations.
It is weird. I stopped using that when I was writing the quiz. I was like, they get it.
Yeah. Did y'all
I
know?
started it, I was doing it, and then I gave up.
There you go. Yeah, I can't blame you one bit. Um, oh, thank you, Surya. Yeah, Surya's
Maybe
trying
by
to.
half. Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, Surya's trying to gaslight us here.
I was gonna say maybe it's in quotations to kind of set off that he's not the real father of anything because we keep having Felix as the father of everything important in this book.
Right, and then also he's not even the father of Mona, or he's the adopted
Right.
father. Right. So out of the limousine steps Papa, steps Mona Ammons Manzano, and Franklin Honecker. And then with an limp, imperious signal from Papa. Imperious is like imperial, so like I don't know quite what that means. Miss Johnson, do you know
What?
what imperious means?
I would think some kind of highfalutin kind of thing, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're
Like
imperious
loyal.
behavior, you're lording over people kind of thing.
Right. Like unquestionable.
Yep. Yeah, that
But
sounds right.
limp at the same time, so
Yes. Showing his frailty, maybe. So the San Lorenzo National Anthem is played at the signal, and the crowd sings it. Its melody is "Home on the Range," which is very cute. It's sung to the Home on the Range, written in 1922 by Bokanon, aka Lionel Boyd Johnson, aka LBJ. I'm glad they don't talk about Lyndon Baines Johnson in this book at all, because I could then just use LBJ and not confuse people, hopefully. The words are, "Oh, ours is a land where the living is grand, and the men are all fearless as sharks." I got it wrong. I got the rhythm wrong. Let me do it again. "Oh, ours is a land where the living is grand, and the men
the
are as
land.
fearless as sharks." Oh, I'm sorry. Are you singing with me?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
"The women are pure, and we always are sure that our children will alter their marks. San Lorenzo, what a rich, lucky island are we. Our enemies quail, for they know they will fail against people so reverent and free."
dear God.
That was painful.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad.
Thank goodness that's recorded for posterity.
Nope, nope,
Right.
not recorded
That's my
anywhere.
new ringtone.
Oh, encore. All right, here we go. One.
All together now.
So I guess the things to take about from this are the fearless as sharks. The women are pure, which is a thing, very Christian, right? The kind of idea of purity. And then the children will toe their marks, which makes me think of Bokononism a little bit, maybe a little bit, but also toe their marks. Isn't that like a get ready to run kind of thing, like on your mark, right?
Yeah, I think it's maybe implying that they'll be kept in line. There's no child delinquents
That's
here.
right. No child delinquencies. That's right. And then the end line, "So reverent and free," which is the name of the chapter. So to be irreverent is to kind of like buck, power, right? So he's saying that like people are gonna fail against this land that listens to what they're told, and free, which is the opposite of that, in a way. So that's interesting.
I think everything in this is opposite of what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Obedient to children, exactly. Yeah, the men are as fearless as sharks. I haven't really seen that. The women are pure. I mean, Mona, I guess. The living is grand, definitely not. Yeah,
Rich island.
Rich and lucky.
Like not at all.
Nope, not one iota. Neither rich and definitely not lucky.
And not that they have enemies, but literally no one has ever failed to take over them.
That's true. That's a good point. That's very fair. Nobody has failed because everybody else just gives up. Whoever owns it's like, it's yours. Uh, so I love the intro to the next chapter because the crowd is deathly still again. Right? They're not. There's no sense of pride. Right? And so Papa and Mona and Frank join us on the review stand. They got a snare drum playing. Right? They got a snare drum playing as they did, and then it stops when Papa points at him. Right? Kind of showing a little bit of the power Papa has, right? Or possibly has. He wore a shouldered holster outside of his blouse, a chromium-plated 45, which is like very fancy pistol, right? To have very fancy handgun to have. He is an old man, as many as the Karas are, which is an interesting point because who else has been old that's in his Karas? I guess H.
The
Lowe.
mittens?
Maybe Dr. Honecker, if you consider dead old. Breed,
I
sure.
get, I get a vibe that the mittens are kind of old.
Mintons, yeah. But the Mintons aren't part of the Karas, right?
Oh, that's true. They're in their own Ubros.
Yeah. Angela is not that old, right? I mean, she's, I think, in fact, she's the opposite of old. Right? She's like 25, 26 or something.
I would put her in her mid-30s.
I mean, I would too, but I guess it's a year later after communicating with Newt. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're right, mid-30s. You're totally right. 39. Okay. So, anyways, he's in poor shape. His steps were small and bounceless. Right, so he's kind of just like limping along almost. He's a fat man, but his lard is melting fast, right? Which does imply maybe some sort of sickness, right? He's fat, but melting. That's a great imagery, melting lard. The balls of his hop-toed eyes are yellow. Hop-toed eyes, which to me kind of like his eyes are kind of a little bulging, right? And his hands trembled. His personal bodyguard is, of course, Major General Franklin Honecker. His uniform was white. It was thin-wristed and narrow-shouldered. So Frank is a Major General. Major General, he is thin-wristed and narrow-shouldered. Kind of like a bookish look, right? Like, what a nerd in this general outfit. Narrow shoulder. He looks like a child kept up long after his customary bedtime. Child up after bed time. What a shame. On his breast was a medal. Jaundice, yeah, definitely jaundice is a possibility there. Excuse me. He observes the two. It's very hard for him to see Papa and Frank, even though he very intimately described them, because he is staring at Mona. He is thrilled, heartbroken, hilarious, and insane. Thrilled, heartbroken, hilarious, and insane, all at the same time.
Can you be hilarious in observation?
Yeah, right. Like,
Hilarious.
maybe he's laughing
So
to himself.
How old is Jonah in all of this?
I don't know that we were told.
Yeah.
Because is Jonah like 18 or something like that?
Yes.
He's old enough to have been out of college for a while and been married twice.
It's like kind of creepy, right? That he's like obsessed with her.
Yes, but I think that's definitely yes, very creepy.
Yes.
The entire island is in love with her, right?
I mean, yes, he's according to him.
Yeah.
But she's probably the best taken care of woman on the island.
Yeah. Very true. And then the way he talks about God love her warm and creamy soul.
I have a warm and creamy soul.
Oh man. Jonah seems like he's 44. Yeah, I could see that. Helen of Troy. Okay. Yeah, 200,000 cigarettes is definitely up there. That girl, and she was only 18, is rapturously serene. She seemed to understand all and to be all there was to understand. And she's even in the books of Bokanon, right? Mona has the simplicity of all. Right? It even seems in, in the books of Bokanon, he's in love with her, right? Her dress is white in Greek, which is what she's wearing today, pretty much, I think. She has flat sandals on her small brown feet. Her pale gold hair was lank and long. Her hips were a lie, or her lips were a liar. No, her hips were a liar. Which also, like, I think has maybe a double meaning of the other word liar, right? Possibly. And then peace and plenty forever, right? Oh God, one line just says, "Oh God."
So creeped out.
Yeah. It's so creepy.
Yes, it is. Especially like how old was she when Bokanon wrote this?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and Kathy pointed out that she's in like a national sex symbol in the index, and then like, she fought against that, and then is back to being one. So it's like, was this happening when she was like 14?
Yeah.
15?
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. They're depicting her like a celestial maiden. Yeah. Yeah, definitely that as well. Yeah, it's not great. So yeah, so Papa adopts her, right? She's the one beautiful girl in San Lorenzo. Papa adopts her to mingle her divinity, to mingle her divinity with his rule, right? So like how you see religion and power, right? Often, or religion used by those in power. Right. And then the xylophone is rolled to the front. She plays "When the Day Is Done," which I do not know that song. I'm sure Miss Johnson does, though.
I don't actually.
What?
I know. Sorry, guys.
Investiture, yes, investiture as well. Yeah, definitely. It used a lot of tremolo. Anybody from last year remember what that is? Or anybody who wasn't from last year who just knows what it is? Is all tremolo swelling, fading, swelling again, and the crowd is intoxicated by the beauty, whether of the song or of her. And then it's time for Papa to take center stage.
Apparently, it was a Bing Crosby song.
Oh.
And here it goes. When day is done and shadows fall, I dream of you. When day is done, I think of all the joys we knew. That yearning returning to hold you in my arms. Won't go, love, I know, love. Without you, night has lost its charms. When day is done and grass is wet with twilight's dew, my lonely heart is sinking with the sun. Although I miss your tender kiss the whole day through, I miss you most of all when day is done. Although just repeats it thereafter.
Okay, seems on point.
But also weird as a, hey, welcome to our island song.
Yeah, also true.
It's the impression it's not a fast-paced, fun song.
No, I wouldn't say so.
It's like an ode to the people.
Yeah, right.
Or to Frank.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, she's playing it for Frank, who she definitely loves.
Yeah, like later in this section. Not so Frank.
So Papa, time for a biography of Papa. He's self-educated. He was the major domo to Corporal McKay before he passed. Major domo being kind of like second command. He had never been off the island. He spoke American English fairly well. And then everything that's bellowed out on the reviewing stand is bellowed to the crowd through doomsday horns.
I
Nice.
thought a major domo was like a butler or something.
I could have maybe. I thought it was maybe it's like a personal assistant. A major domo. You're right. The chief steward of a large household. You're totally right.
So he was a servant.
Yeah, he was a servant, and now he's in charge.
But like the head servant.
Yeah, he's what's the guy in Batman?
Alfred.
He's the Alfred here.
He's the one really running things.
Right. So they talk about the doomsday horns, and whatever went out through the horns gabbled down a wide boulevard wide short boulevard at the back of the crowd ricocheted off the 3 glass buildings there, which are the 3 glass-faced new buildings that were in the advertisement, I would presume, because there's probably no other glass buildings. And then came cackling back, which makes it very loud. And then Papa starts his speech. You were coming to the best friend America ever had. Which might actually be true. I don't know. France in the 1780s might have something to say about that. The best friend America ever had. America is misunderstood in many places, right? But not here, Mr. Ambassador. And he bows to H. Lowe Crosby because he thinks H. Lowe Crosby, with his very American styles, right? His very, like, American physique and stature and demeanor, thinks he's the ambassador, which of course he's not, and he's not happy about that, H. Lowe Crosby. And so he says, and then H. Lowe Crosby goes like, "Hey, everything I've heard sounds great, except I'm not the ambassador, right?" He just says he's a good old ordinary businessman, and then it hurts him to point to Minton and say that he is the ambassador, right? Which, like, kind of proves that, like, he clearly doesn't think that much of Minton, which we do know because he thinks he's a communist, right? And so calls him the big cheese. Maybe it's also he's not the one in power kind of thing. And then Papa smiles at his mistake, and the smile goes away, which maybe goes away because Minton doesn't look like a very powerful man or an ambassador, you know, that represents a whole country and a government. But instead, Papa goes into pain. He winces, and then he hunches over, and then he closes his eyes. In that order. Not make sure that's in order. And the key thing is surviving the pain, right? That's all he cares about at this point, right?
I kind of get the vibe that this guy has hepatitis.
Yeah, is that what you think?
Yeah.
I could see that too. That would make sense.
Pain in the abdomen, yellow eyes, unexplained weight loss, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Especially makes sense on an island that doesn't necessarily have great medical facilities and access to medicines, right, and stuff like that.
He has the House of Hope and Mercy.
That's true.
In the jungle. Don't forget in the jungle.
Haymont asked a question. Did Jonah ever say when the current narration occurs? I know Bokanon's dates, but I don't know about Jonah's. This is in the late 50s. We have come together to understand because Newt was 6 when the bomb happened. He was at least 18 when he was writing to. He was 18 the day Dr. Honecker died. And so he's probably in the, what would we say, early 20s range, probably?
Yeah, I gotta think that we're at least around 1960, because if he was in medical school, it means that he's already got his bachelor's degree.
That's true. Wait, Newt's in medical school?
Well, remember he got kicked out?
Oh, I thought that was an undergrad medical school thing.
Is that a thing?
I mean, you could be an undergrad for, like, you know, pre-med. So, but yeah, 1959 sounds about right, as Oscar is pointing out. And yeah, Kathy, they will say later that he does have cancer. I believe that's true. I forgot about that.
Spoiler.
And then, yeah, right. And then Frank goes over to him. Frank tries to support him feebly. Feebly and incompetently, which I think is just showing some of that internal bias he has towards the man marrying Mona, and also Frank. He knows who Frank is a little bit, right? But Papa tries to get back up. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that, everybody." And then maybe seems to almost not know where he is for a minute, or what was expected of him. And then he shakes Horlick-Minton's hands and says, "Here, you're among friends," right? And then Horlick is like, "Yeah, I know," and he's like, "We're Christian." Horlick's like, "Yeah, okay, good." And then he's like, "We're anti-communist." "Yep, all right, good." And then he says, "There are no communists here because they fear the hook for it." Right? If they are communists, they'll get the hook. And then Min's like, he's like, yeah, they fear the hook. And Min's like, I bet they do. Yeah, I would be too. And then Papa says, you picked a very good time to see us because tomorrow is the happiest day in San Lorenzo history. Tomorrow is the greatest national holiday, the day of the 100 Martyrs to Democracy. Which is a very special day, especially if you've read ahead. You know exactly how important and how historic, how important these martyrs were to the cause. It'd also be the day of the engagement of Mona to Frank. Right, engagement of Mona to Frank, which again is why Newt and Angela are here. The most precious person in my life and in the life of San Lorenzo. And then Min goes, I wish you much happiness, Miss Manzano. Congratulates General Honecker, even though Mona is right there. Right, doesn't say anything there. The two young people, Mona and Frank, nod their thanks. And then Minton speaks of the so-called 100 Martyrs to Democracy, and Min says a whooping lie. He says, there's not an American schoolchild who does not know of the story of San Lorenzo's noble sacrifice, right? Very good.
Standard U.S. history.
Yep.
History.
That was a San Lorenzo sacrifice. Yeah, you guys, when you're in Rosenbaum's class next year, make sure you bring this up. Because it's important. And he might try to skip it because there's a lot going on in A-Push, but make sure, you know. The 100 braves to San Lorenzans, whose day tomorrow is, gave as much as freedom-loving men can. The President of the United States asked me to be his personal representative, and he is going to cast a wreath to the sea. It's kind of the ceremonial thing that they do, I guess. Right. And then Papa goes on, the people of San Lorenzo thank you and your presidents, and how generous they are. And then he asks him to cast the wreath himself, right? And then Papa commands them all to honor him with their presence at the wreath ceremony engagement the next day. Appeared at his palace at noon the next day. And then Papa starts going on about the children of Mona and Frank, like what blood, what beauty. Again, blood coming back in. That's Frank, right? Frank's not beauty, right? That's not him. And then as soon as he does all this, the pain hits him again. The pain hits Papa again. Right. He closes his eyes to huddle himself around that pain. He waits for it to pass, but it did not pass. And then he turns away from them, faces the crowd and the microphone. He tries to gesture at the crowd. He tries to say something to the crowd, but then it finally tells them to go home. Right. And then the crowd scatters like leaves, and then he collapses. And that's where we kind of leave off here. 64, the strongest thing there is. Or no.
66.
Dang it, I did it again. 65, 66.
Numbers are hard.
Strongest thing.
Are yours not labeled?
No, they are. Was it labeled as 63? No, it wasn't. I just straight up wrote 63 for some reason.
I don't know, like a crazy person. I just have the book.
Oh, I have the book, but I have the PDF open just because it's easier to dictate from. He certainly looked dead, but he's not, because he's convulsing every once in a while. He's having shudders, right? A shuddering twitch every once in a while. And I might be running out of space on this. I didn't squeeze it enough. And then Frank is frantic, right? Frank is like, Papa, don't die. Frank loosens his collar and blouse and rubs his wrists, right? He loosens the collar and blouse and rubs his wrists, which is a weird one. I don't know if I've ever seen that as a like a way to cure somebody.
Like blood circulation, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Checking his pulse, yeah, I can see that. The fighter plane pilots come running over to help us, and one has the sense enough to call an ambulance, right? So one of the fighter pilots calls an ambulance. I like that he says they have the sense, but, like, Jonah didn't. You know, he's kind of been there the whole time. Maybe...
Everybody It's like totally bystander effect, just standing there stunned and like, who's gonna do something?
Yeah, right. Maybe he's donating Frank blood. There you go. The band and the color guard, which have received no orders, are just chilling, right? Or they're not even chilling. They're remaining at attention, right? Because he didn't say you could stop, right? He looked for Mona, and Mona's just chilling. She is still serene, and had withdrawn to the rail of the reviewing stand. And death didn't alarm her, right? I bet she's seen a lot of it at this point.
How very Mona Lisa enigmatic of her.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. I like that as well.
It also says a lot about her relationship with Papa.
Yeah, right. She's not panicking at all. She could even you could even say she maybe hates Papa. Maybe we don't really know. Mona's an enigma. And standing next to her is a pilot. He's not looking at her, but he had a perspiring radiance that attributed to his being so near to her. Right. So he's sweating because he's so close to Mona. Right.
Projection.
Yeah. Right. Papa regained some consciousness with a hand that flapped like a captured bird. That's interesting. His analogies, man, they're so good. With a captured bird, and he says Frank will rule. Frank will rule when he dies. Right. His lips move, and we can hear nothing but bubbling sounds. And the way we find out about this is that one of the pilots, and he says it looks like a wonderful idea now, but in retrospect, it's a terrible idea. A pilot takes the microphone and holds it to Papa's bubbling lips. And so we hear death rattles and all sorts of spastic yodels. Spastic yodeling, that's how I sing, as you guys know now. And then came words, and then he says, hey, you're going to be the next president of San Lorenzo because of science. Science.
And ice.
And ice, yes. Science, says Papa, and ice. And he rolls his yellow eyes, and he passes that again. And Jonah, once again, looking back at Mona for maybe an answer. Her expression is unchanged. The pilot next to her, however, is in catatonic rigidity. Right, he's probably pretty terrified about what's happening right now. Not necessarily Papa, the whole Papa thing.
I feel like you missed a word there to get the meaning of what's going on.
Orgiastic.
Orgiastic.
Or
You're
orgiastic.
totally right. Yes, the orgiastic, catatonic rigidity.
Yeah, I don't think he's stunned because of Papa.
No,
That's definitely not what's happening.
He's not, because what's happening is Mona has slipped off her sandal and she is obscenely kneading the instep of the flyer's boot. Mona is kneading the instep of the flyer's boot.
Obscenely.
Which immediately the first thing you think of is like, oh, she loves this fighter pilot, right? She doesn't love Frank. Which I think is the reasonable thing to assume at this point.
But they really hadn't gone into like what the whole foot thing meant. Just that like you get in trouble for doing it.
Yeah, there is a foot thing, and you are put on the hook if you do.
Right, like at the airport, there was a sign that said you get the hook for the foot play.
Yeah.
But they never really explained it yet.
Yeah.
And here she's just doing it in front of God and everybody.
Right.
I mean,
well, and like, you know, I think if that rule applied, would it apply to Mona, right? If Mona got caught doing that, you know, would she be put on the hook? I don't think there's any chance. Right?
she's just like so excited that like Papa's on the verge of death that she had to like somehow like
break the rules right in front of him.
Yeah, like have some sort of cathartic outfit.
Right. Surya, Mona is like a siren. I definitely have felt that word for a while about Mona, like maybe a siren, especially with, and you know, she was brought by a siren, right, in the limo, and as we'll see later on, right, you know, things are gonna happen. Papa didn't die, not then. He was rolled away in the airport's big red meat wagon. The minions were taken away to the embassy by an American limousine. So, the Mintons, sorry, the minions.
This is in Gru.
Yeah. The Mintons take a limo to the embassy. Newt and Angela are taken to Frank's house. In another so the Mintons get the American limo. The Newt and Angela get the San Lorenzo limo. And then the Crosbys and Jonah are taken to the hotel, are taken to the Casa Mona in the one taxi that exists on the island. It is a hearse-like 1939 Chrysler limousine. So they have 3 limousines and one taxi. One of those limousines happens to be a taxi, right? With jump seats. What are jump seats?
They're like little flip-down seats, like in the back.
Oh, are those what we said earlier?
No, those were rumble seats. Those would have actually been like where the trunk would have been.
Okay.
Jump seats would be inside.
Gotcha. And the name on the taxi is Castle Transportation Inc. It is owned by Philip Castle, the owner of Castle Mona, the son of the completely unselfish man I come to interview. I love that he just throws out the completely unselfish part. Are they being taken to their funeral? Maybe.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, right.
No, are they being taken to their hotel? It's just the appearance of the car is hearse-like.
Yeah.
Which I just Googled that car, and it does have kind of the look of a hearse.
Like a station wagon looking thing?
Yeah, a little bit rounded off because it's the late 30s, but I mean, if you're the guy dying, better to be in the meat wagon than the hearse, I guess.
Yeah, it's true.
True.
So there's a lot of questions. There's consternation and questions that the Crosbys and Jonah had to have answered immediately. The Crosbys had to know who Bokonon was. They were scandalized by the idea that anyone should be opposed to Papa, which is interesting. They met him for like 2 seconds. Right, but again, they probably love their good old dictators, opposed to Papa. And then Jonah wants to know who the 100 Martyrs of Democracy had been, which I actually agree with. I was like, what is this? The 100 Martyrs to Democracy? Yeah, to democracy, not of democracy.
Well,
it almost feels like the name 100 Martyrs to Democracy really reminds me of like those the names that like the Chinese Communist Party had for all their different movements, like the Great Leap Forward, Cultural Revolution, right? Kind of this
sounds like a 90s grunge band. 100 Martyrs to Democracy live at the Compaq Center.
I'd go see that.
I would too.
Meat Wagon sounds like he's being taken to a butcher. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, a little bit.
The hotel represents a funeral of sorts. The funeral, I don't think the hotel ended up really being funeral-like.
Yeah, and people don't usually ride to a funeral in the hearse unless they're the
dead person.
Dead body.
Yeah. The Crosbys, understandably and almost with no surprise, they can't understand the dialect because they're big dumb Americans, right? They're not gonna try to, even though Jonah can, even though he's an American like them, right?
Yeah, he read that one poem in the San Lorenzo language. Now he's fluent.
There you go. And so Crosby's question is, who the hell is this pissant Bokonon anyway? And then we get Vori Balmon, or Very Bad Man. And then so he asks, is he a communist? Right, and he says, oh, sure, the taxi driver, right? He says, oh, yeah, why not? Does he have a following? And then he needs to kind of repeat that. Does anybody think he's any good? And then the driver's like, oh, no way, nobody that crazy. He said piously, which is an interesting word to use. And then why hasn't he been caught? And then the taxi driver says, he's a hard man to catch. He's very tricky, right? He's very smart. right? And then Crosby says, well, people must be hiding him and giving him food or be caught by now. And then the taxi driver's like, nope, nobody hides him, nobody feeds him. We're all too smart to do that. And then, anybody who feeds him gets the hook, right? Anybody gives him a place to sleep, they get the hook, and nobody wants the hook. And he pronounced hook, hi, hi,
Hooked on phonics.
hi, you, uka. That's the hook. So there you go. And that, as they say, that is chapter 63 and 67. So next time we'll cover 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72.
Mr. Hartman, since you're on the hunt for hidden monas, apparently the San Lorenzo word for man is moan, and if you rearrange the letters...
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
It's Mona. That is true. She is everywhere in here. Volleyball moan. Huh. There you go. All right, so does anybody have any questions? We actually got this done pretty quick.
Yeah, we did.
That is the quickest one we've done in a while. If not ever.
It was like all one scene.
Yeah, it was all very quick little scene, and the transition out of that scene to another scene. Yeah, we're gonna go to the hotel tomorrow. The Pissant Hilton. So being gay isn't a problem for Philip if Mona is a man on San Lorenzo. Sure, yeah, why not? I can see that.
Maybe that's why he secretly likes her.
Maybe, right? Mona is like an apparition. Surya, you keep on bringing up what Mona is like, and I appreciate it, because she is definitely a mystery in the middle of this book. An apparition, yeah, okay. Like, I mean, she's a religious icon almost, right? She's a religious figure. The way that they talk about her and the way that people react to her being around them. A succubus? I don't know about that. That might be a little too far. She's too chill. A cult? Are you saying all religions cults, Surya? You need to...
Or all false religions.
Ooh, all false religions. So what's the true religion then? Is it Bokononism?
No, I'm thinking not.
Oh, dang it! I was ready to buy my T-shirt and everything.
Your T-shirt with the snake crushing the devil.
Also,
or just Mona.
If San Lorenzans are smart and Bokonon are too, isn't smart equal smart? They would be better at finding Bokonon. And I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. San Lorenzo's worship of Mona is a cult. Absolutely. 100%. Definitely.
And I think Jonah's volunteering to be their leader.
Jonah's ready to step up to the plate and take charge of that cult. That's for certain.
He has definitely drank the Kool-Aid.
Yes, he is drinking the Kool-Aid. But he doesn't want anybody else to drink it, weirdly enough. Alright, so I think that's going to do it for today. The cab driver said San Lorenzo's are smart and Bokonon is too. Yeah, I don't... Are they smart in different ways? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like I just think he's saying they're smart enough to avoid the hook, and he's smart enough to avoid getting caught, right?
In San Lorenzo, nothing means what you think it means.
Also true. Yeah, everything's a lie, as Bokonon told us, right? All right, I think it's gonna do it. Thank you, Miss Alphen. Thank you, Miss Johnson, for sitting in on this.
Yep.
Of course.
Yeah. We're gonna go. I'm gonna go run away for 10 minutes and then come to this department meeting. The rest of you guys have a great day. If you got any questions, send us on Remind or email or whatever. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.